The air in our living room was thick with the scent of lilies and the metallic tang of betrayal. It was my sister Sarah's college graduation party. The crescendo of the evening came when my parents, smiling like proud benefactors, handed Sarah a thick embossed envelope. She tore it open, her eyes widening as she pulled out the deed. A deed to a 3-bedroom, fully furnished house just minutes from the coast. A down payment, they called it. A massive leg up for her future. The crowd erupted. Champagne flowed. My sister cried happy tears and hugged them. Then the room cleared a path and they turned to me. I was there too. I'd graduated a year earlier, buried under student loans, working 3 jobs. Dad reached into his jacket pocket. My heart actually thumped a desperate, hopeful rhythm against my ribs. Finally, my turn. Maybe an investment? A small business loan? He held up a small rectangular card. It was brightly colored, glossy. He placed it in my hand with a theatrical flourish, then clapped me on the shoulder, Mom beaming beside him. "Well, Liam," Dad said, his voice booming with pride. "We got you a year's membership to MegaFit Gym. Time to buff up, son." He and Mom shared a look of pure, unadulterated self-satisfaction. A house for her. A gym membership for me. A $500 membership compared to a $300,000 house. They stood there waiting for my gratitude. But all I saw was the vast, crushing difference in how they valued my sister's future versus mine. In that moment, watching them smile, I knew my life would never be the same again. My name is Liam, and for 23 years, I thought I was part of a family. Not a perfect one, but a unit. My sister Sarah and I, we were always different. She was the artist, the free spirit, the one who navigated life with an easy, charming grace. I was the pragmatist, the one who fixed things, the one who worked for everything. Our parents, well, they weren't bad people, not truly. They were just biased. Sarah was their golden child. Every one of her hobbies was subsidized. Every academic struggle met with a private tutor. She was encouraged to follow her passion, knowing there was a safety net woven from the thick, golden threads of my parents' wealth. My path, it was all about self-reliance. When I wanted to take an engineering course, I was told, "That's a stable career, Liam. You'll manage to pay for it yourself. It will build character." So I did. I worked as a server, a landscaper, a library, assistant, sometimes all at once, pay my tuition and keep my loans manageable. I didn't complain. I thought that was just the way life was. I thought their way was tough love. The stakes were clear. My parents' approval and love were conditional on my performance, while Sarah's were inherent. I wasn't fighting for money. I was fighting for equal worth in the eyes of the 2 people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The graduation party wasn't just about the gifts. It was the final public accounting of my value to them. The house gym membership was the climax. But the story had been written in 1,000 small, painful chapters. There was the car incident. When Sarah totaled her used sedan, a gift from Dad, it was replaced 2 weeks later with a brand new crossover. Safety first! When my 15-year-old car finally sputtered its last breath, Dad told me, "You're an engineer. Liam, fix it, or save up for another." I ended up taking 2 extra shifts, just to buy a scooter for transportation. The college funds were another glaring example. My parents had a hefty savings account for both of us. Sarah used hers for her entire 4 years of art school, no questions asked. When it was my turn, they suddenly remembered a terrible investment they'd made years ago. The fund was gone. "You're smarter than Sarah, Liam," Mom had said. "You'll figure it out." I did figure it out. I graduated with honors, the debt heavy on my shoulders, while Sarah finished with a fine arts degree and 0 debt. I told myself their favoritism wasn't a slight against me, but a need to help the weaker child. A noble justification, but it was chipping away at my soul. The final straw before the party was when I asked Dad for a reference for a major job application. He was a partner at a local firm. He took a week to write it, and it was lukewarm, generic. Later that same week, Sarah decided she wanted to start a pottery side business, and Dad immediately introduced her to his most influential contact, an art gallery owner, essentially setting her up for a major client base. The tension was a coiled spring. I came to Sarah's party, exhausted from a night shift, clinging to a thin thread of hope. Maybe now that I'm successful on my own terms, they'll see me. They'll acknowledge my struggle. This desperate hope made the sting of the gym membership lethal. I stood there, the glossy cardstock of the gym membership digging into my palm. Sarah was hugging Mom and Dad, the house key glinting under the chandelier. The smile on my father's face wasn't malicious. It was oblivious. He truly thought he'd given me a fantastic, thoughtful present. The room was spinning. The noise of the party, the clinking glasses, the false cheer, it all became a distant, muffled roar. My vision tunneled onto the card. MegaFit Gym. They were telling me I needed to work on my body because they certainly weren't going to help my future. A wave of nausea hit me, followed by the clearest thought I'd ever had. I am a convenience to them. Not a son. My immediate emotional reaction wasn't sadness or anger. It was a cold, pure detachment. I looked up at my father. He was still smiling. "Thank you, Dad," I said, my voice shockingly steady. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. The energy of the turning point wasn't an explosion, but a complete, silent withdrawal. I walked over to the buffet table, which was laden with expensive catering. I picked up an appetizer plate. I walked back to my father, who was still basking in the glow of his generosity. My split-second decision was made. I would not be the easy punching bag, the quiet son who takes it. I placed the gym membership card on the plate, picked up a glass of red wine, and calmly poured the entire glass over the glossy card, saturating it, staining the plate, and dripping onto the carpet. "There you go, Dad," I said, meeting his eyes as the wine dripped. "I've started my fitness journey. I'm giving you back the weight of this gift." I put the ruined plate down, turned my back on the stunned silence that had fallen over the room, and walked straight out the front door. I didn't look back at the 3-bedroom house or the beaming faces. I got on my scooter and drove away. The immediate consequence of my departure was a week of relentless, explosive phone calls and texts. They didn't call to apologize for the gift or the years of disparity. They called to scold me for the scene. Mom's message was the most cutting. "You embarrassed us in front of all our friends. Liam, this is why we worry about you. Sarah would never be so immature." Sarah, surprisingly, was the only one who didn't immediately attack. She texted me one single line, "I'm sorry, Liam." I didn't reply. The biggest consequence wasn't the broken relationship. It was the sudden, necessary freedom. My decision to walk away was a total severance of the emotional obligation I felt towards them. I had nothing left to prove. I cut contact for 3 months. No texts, no calls, no holiday visits. The silence was deafening at first. It quickly became the most peaceful sound I'd ever heard. I threw myself into work. Without the emotional drain of seeking their approval, my focus sharpened. I took an industry certification course, applied for a promotion, and started to build a small engineering side business. I used the time and energy I used to spend trying to please them to build my own house, brick by financial brick. When my parents finally reached out again, they tried to send me a check for the amount of the gym membership. I sent it back, unopened, with a note. Keep it for Sarah's new furniture. The hyped conflict was not resolved through reconciliation, but through boundaries, the impenetrable walls I built around my self-worth. It took me years, but I eventually bought my own house. A smaller one, secured with a mortgage I worked tirelessly to pay down. Every payment felt like a punch-through of the ceiling my parents had put over me. The profound lesson I learned that night wasn't about money. It was about acknowledgement. You can never force someone to see your worth. Some people, even family, are simply incapable of it, because it threatens the comfortable narrative they've constructed about the world and about themselves. I realized that their gift wasn't a slight. It was a mirror. It showed me that they saw me as the strong one, the one who could be self-sufficient, and they expected me to be the self-sustaining foundation for the one they perceived as weaker. Their lack of support was, twistedly, a form of backhanded faith in my capabilities. But it was a faith I didn't owe them my life for. If you are watching this, and you've ever been handed a gym membership when you deserved a house, a gesture, a pittance when you've earned the world, I want you to remember this. You don't need their acknowledgement to build your empire. The best gift you can give yourself is the permission to walk away from the table that isn't serving you. Their smile, their approval, their conditional love, that's the real weight you need to drop. Go home, start building your own damn house, and use that anger that hurt as your fuel. Because when you finally stand on your own foundation, solid and self-made, you realize that the house they gave your sister wasn't a gift at all. It was an anchor, and the only thing they gave you was the one thing you actually needed, freedom. And that, for me, was worth more than any deed.